What up, indeed? What up? What up? What up?
Man, that was really fun. Oh boy. I'm having a excellent night. You know, sometimes you have a really productive day, and at the end of it, you just feel really good and relaxed and stuff. I think when you're so productive, it's like your brain knows it's time to rest, so it's like more willing to do it. But I've been out for the past like 12 hours. brief thoughts. Some brief thoughts. Man, my back is actually kind of tired. I'm wondering if I should sit down here. It's fine, actually. I don't know how long I'm going to talk. I think I do have quite a bit to say, though. I don't know. We'll see. The topic that I wrote on the thing for this evening's Thoughts on 30 is spiritual cycles, small and large. Something extremely relevant for me recently. Before talking about my own personal recent experience, I should maybe define what I mean. So by cycles, I guess the idea is that, I don't know, your motivation, your practice, your diligence, your overall awareness, sometimes it's pretty high, other times it's pretty low. Really everything is on a cycle. You know, happiness is on its own cycle, sadness is on its own cycle. A lot of these cycles intermix with each other, of course, and so, of course, one thing leads to another, and all of a sudden you're happy, you're sad. But underlying it all are kind of spiritual cycles, the cycles of your awareness. So you'll go through periods of your life where you're extremely aware of every moment, every day, every second of every day, every moment of every second. And then there's periods where perhaps you will go through a day and feel like you missed it. You know, where the day just passed by and you don't really remember what happened for any of it. You might even say that you weren't alive for that day. I certainly would say that about many days in my own life. So that's the idea of spiritual cycles. Now, I would point out that these cycles come in small or large, and it's not really up to you how what the size of the cycle is. The most broad spiritual cycle is to cross paths with the Dhamma, I think, the teachings of Buddhism, and this is kind of the overarching cycle, because until you have had this seedling of awakening by contact with Buddhism, you will be permanently asleep, is kind of the idea. But once you become aware of the spiritual nature of existence and of life, it sets in motion a whole lot of other things that are on their own cycles. Before that, the cycles haven't begun. After it, they most certainly have. And so, so I've been meditating and spiritual and stuff for close to 3 years, I would say, about 2.5 years. And there were periods in there where I was very diligent with my practice and trying very hard and learning so quickly. And, you know, the idea is that you can be extremely present for lengthy periods of time, really. And that certainly has occurred in my life many times. But it's also been the opposite case many times, where I'll just be kind of asleep for days. Anyway, the point is, they come in different sizes. And so recently for me, I've been on very, very, very short cycling. In the course of a day, I'll go from extremely present to almost entirely somewhere else. And so right now I'm feeling extremely present. And so you might be able to tell the music is really good, in my opinion, this evening. And, you know, I'm feeling very, very here and very now, which is great. But I guarantee you that within maybe 2 days I'd give it, I might be completely back to sleep. And completely just kind of in the monotony of every day and sort of missing it, sort of not alive for it, just kind of going through it autonomously. And so this is kind of a dilemma, because it can be a difficult thing to accept when sometimes you're very accepting and other times you probably practically don't even know what acceptance is. But all the same, recognizing it, I think, is so incredibly important. And this is something that I've really been thankful for recently, because I've noticed, like, how quickly my mind has been changing these recent days. And it all goes back to a little less than a month ago, actually, when I had sort of a spiritual reawakening. That was the end of a very long cycle and the start of many new short cycles. That reawakening moment ended a period of roughly 3 to 4 months where I was just almost completely asleep. And it invigorated me to kind of reevaluate my lifestyle and really recommit to a number of really healthy choices. And it's also led to a lot of really deep contemplation on my part since then. And yeah, I've just been feeling a lot essentially for the past month, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it has been an extremely challenging thing at times. And that's why, again, recognizing this cycling of emotions and awareness is so important, because you're a little more accepting of those really difficult times if you remember how quickly they end, and how quickly you can just come back. I think I've been speaking in many abstractions. A more concrete example, it's kind of hard to come up with. It's kind of the sort of thing you need to feel and recognize in yourself. Perhaps just talking about it has helped you identify that, but I don't know. I think being 23, as I am quite subject to thinking life is either really fast or really slow. I think that's something people in their 20s probably would relate to. Or just in general, maybe it's just part of being alive right now. But yeah, it feels as though sometimes a day goes by in just a moment. Today was a very quick day, actually. It felt like partially because of the productivity that I mentioned earlier, I think it really just flew by, which is kind of a good thing, because I wasn't really resisting that passage. But other days feel like they fucking last forever. And that's no fun. Especially if you're sad on those days. If you're happy on those days, I guess it's not so bad. But if you're happy, it's more likely to go by quickly, I think. You know, as they say, time flies when you're having fun. Time flies like a smoking gun. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm just rambling a little bit. I think recognizing this, I think I already made this point, but I think recognizing this constant coming and going of feelings and just awareness in general is a really important thing, to just always remember that everything passes. So I think with that in mind, you're maybe a little more willing to feel pain and let it out, knowing that it will not be here forever. You know, and I think that's really important. I think you need to let out that pain. I'm a person that compartmentalizes so much, and then I just break down, essentially. That's another cycling kind of thing, actually. It's like, oh, I'm fine. Oop, I'm not okay. I'm fine. Oh, I'm not okay. But, yeah. Just that has been back and forth a lot, just within the past few days. Changing from okay to not okay very rapidly. But, you know, you get through it. That's the good thing. I've always remembered that whatever is happening will pass. And I don't really worry too much about it. You know, that actually helps me be a little more genuine and allowing myself to feel those things. Speaking of genuineness, I think I've been trying very hard to observe these cycles, and because of that, I've very often chosen solitude, because being out in the world is extremely disruptive and distracting and just gives me a headache and overwhelms me. So if, for example, I'm feeling angry or upset or anything really, I really don't want to direct that at other people, recognizing that it will pass. But because of that, I almost always isolate myself, which might not be the healthiest way to deal with it. I honestly couldn't really tell you. But, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes your thoughts can be really, really vicious, though. My harshest thoughts are all towards myself, though. Which, again, is why you just gotta wait for them to pass and just say, oh, I'm overthinking, or oh, I'm being really critical of myself or someone else right now, before you move on. Acknowledging that is actually probably the quickest way to dispel it. If you're feeling really angry and you just say, oh, I'm really angry about such and such, you'll feel that anger loosen a little bit, because it's just anger, it's like recognizing it makes it less powerful, I suppose. I don't know if that really makes any sense or not, but that's kind of how I feel about it, at the moment at least. So, I think recognizing and labeling emotions is a really good practice. Acknowledging, like, oh, anger is here, okay. Or, oh, fear is here, okay. Or, oh, I feel really happy. Great. In Buddhism we say that all emotions, and really everything actually, has three characteristics: dukkha, anicca, and anatta. Dukkha, suffering; anicca, changing; anatta, selfless. Meaning there's suffering because you feel something and you either want it or you don't. You judge it, making this judgment, not a good idea. Anicca, changing, impermanence, kind of self-explanatory. Literally nothing in the universe lasts forever, so you may as well let it go. And then anatta, selflessness, egolessness, meaning the things that come and inhabit your mind and your consciousness and your body, even your mind and your consciousness and your body are not yours, is the idea. There's no such thing as ego. Ego is an illusion. I'm going to read what this says. Good morning, or good evening, Alexa. I hope you are well. Yeah, so that's kind of the stuff I've been thinking about recently. Happy to accept comments or questions or whatever. But, yeah, I think I'm going to play more music, though. Nice short rant for the good peoples of this Facebook. It's been a really good day. I'm really happy about that. That's a nice chord. before. Now it's still not very. It's not overwhelming, but it's not quite as pure, I would say. The Sims. I'm glad you enjoy the music. I think we're all a little strange too. I forgot to talk about the thing that I wanted to. Well, I talked about the thing that I wanted to talk about, but I didn't touch on all the points that I wanted to talk about. One of the ones I wanted to make. You know, I see so many parallels between small and large, and like internal and external, and that sort of thing. And so these cycles that I was talking about before, in the context of like meditation, in my meditations recently, it's been a very apparent thing that, you know, well, I mean, obviously this is kind of always apparent in meditation, but you're focused, your mind drifts off. It's as if you're here, and then you're not, and then you come back, and that's a cycle as well. And that's a cycle that is happening, you know, a couple times a minute, maybe, and one that you actually have some control or intention over, and that keeps it interesting. And so it's interesting because I don't see that kind of small cycling of breath and attention back and forth, moving attention from intentional and placed on something like the breath or the meditation object, lost kind of unintentionally, and then brought back with intention. I see that as very much the same process as being alive, maybe being happy and accepting, slowly losing that, maybe not cultivating healthy patterns and stuff. What does this say? Oh. Facebook is asking me if I want to tag people. And just like that, I have lost my attention. How about that? How about that? But no, I think that, you know, all life is kind of about being focused, being not focused, being focused, being not focused. And I think living a spiritual life is just part of the time that you're focused, and then you'll go back down and not be focused. Then you'll come back and be really focused again, maybe for more than one life, or maybe for a more full life. Then you'll maybe not be focused again. One of my favorite authors, Ram Dass, in the book Be Here Now, points out that the more you grow, the harder you fall, which is kind of a difficult pill to swallow in a lot of cases, because, you know, you'll be doing really well, and then you'll feel like you're doing really terribly when you're not doing well, and that can be extremely unpleasant and difficult. And that's actually something I've been struggling a lot with recently, because I have been doing really well, but when I'm not doing really well, then that becomes all the more challenging. But yes, going back though, thank you for your kind words, Alexa. I enjoy this music a lot. This has been really chill. Excuse me. Oh boy. What's this say? See you soon. I feel like everything tonight has had kind of like a loungy, dreamy quality to it, which I really enjoy. Whew, my back is kind of tired. Been sitting and standing all day. So I've been teaching people a lot of guitar, and so I've been thinking kind of differently about music recently. That was a really good example of, if I do say so myself, that was a good example of Phrygian mode. So, just for context, that would have been A flat Phrygian. Oh man, that band I love. It's just mesmerizing, and it's like, oh. Sometimes music gives me just really. I hate to use like sexual imagery because I think it's crude a lot of the time. But stuff like that gives me a huge mental boner. I just think it's so just like, oh god. It just turns on my brain in such a way. It's like, oh my god, this is just so good. That. going to be it for tonight. Thank you, my good people, for tuning in. May your cycles be short. May you be well. And I will see you soon. Probably like a week and a half before I do another one of these, because I was away last weekend. I'm going away again this weekend. I'll be back. Don't worry. I'll be back. See you soon. Be well.